everybody, and welcome to another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. It is a good day. It's a great day, actually. It's a great day for hockey because the Penguins season starts tonight. We're recording on Wednesday, but as you're listening to this episode, it will be opening day for the Penguins. They're going to take on the Arizona Coyotes in Pittsburgh at 7 p.m. Really looking forward to that game. And we talked a lot last week about how the Penguins weren't cap compliant, but they did what they had to do. Seemed like they kind of took on some kind of witchcraft to make it happen, but they are cap compliant now. They sent Ty Smith and Mark Friedman down, and a couple other things. Not reclaiming Radim Zahorna. That was interesting, but we're going to get into that right now. So the Penguins cap compliant. Finally, they are down a couple defensemen at the professional level, obviously, because Mark Friedman down in Wilkes-Barre. So what all went into that process? Like, Taylor, what are your thoughts on how they did it, the method, and the ultimate result? Like, do you feel good about their current lineup as it stands?
I mean, so they're cap compliant, but just barely. So you can carry 23 players. They can only afford 22, and we kind of knew that would happen.
Right.
Just based on the cap situation. They only have $83,000 in cap space, which gets you nothing. So they're carrying, one extra forward, one extra D. Right now, Teddy Blueger's hurt. We'll get into that more in the second segment. But so right now, they don't have any extra forwards. And unless a guy's on long-term IR and you get cap relief, if they have another injury at forward at this point, we're talking about which defenseman can move up and play forward. So that's how that's how tight things are. They don't have any room for recalls. So this was a good way to get cap compliant to start, but I still think a trade is coming. It kind of has to come. You can't go through the whole season with one extra forward, one extra D, no room for call ups without using long-term IR. So I still think trade's coming at some point, but for short term, this is probably fine. But as far as what they did to get compliant, I think it probably couldn't have gone better. They did lose Radim Zahorna. We talked about that in the last segment, in the last episode. We'll talk about how they had the opportunity to get him back. But, Ty Smith going down was, I think, a little interesting because last week we talked about what they're going to do with the defense. And it's like, well, Ty Smith going down makes sense because he is exempt from waivers, and it's an easy, risk-free way to make sure you don't lose one of your 9 defensemen. But then also, he had only been with Ruda as a pairing the entire, training camp preseason when they moved into the NHL groups. We didn't see Ruda working with Pierre Joseph or Friedman or, Chad Ruhwedel, which you'd think that, like, if they knew Ty Smith was going to go down, that they would have done some experimenting.
Yeah.
And I know that, some people were like, oh, well, Ty Smith, it's very obviously just like a paper move, paper transaction. He's going to be back. They're going to find a way to, they're going to put P.O. on waivers and then bring him back up. No, that isn't what's happening. Ty Smith, he's in Wilkes-Barre. His locker's cleared out. His nameplate is gone. It's empty. He is physically in Wilkes-Barre. When the day after they sent him down, I asked Sullivan about, that decision, and he had said, they were on the phone with J.D. Forrest, Wilkes-Barre's head coach, both him and Todd Reardon, just to talk with him about Ty Smith, and they're going to keep, in touch. They have a good line of communication throughout the season just to monitor his progress. So they're working under the plan that Ty Smith is going to be in Wilkes-Barre to start for at least a little bit, which isn't the worst thing in the world. He has, deficiencies with the defensive game. He can play big minutes down there, work it out. He's never been in the AHL before, but it's not like he was on a real contender in New Jersey. So it's a little different. But, they got J.D. Forrest. He's a good defensive coach down there. They did just hire Sheldon Brookbank as the assistant coach, who was just an assistant coach in Chicago in the NHL. He had a long career as a defenseman himself as in the NHL. So Ty Smith, he's in good hands. And like Todd Reardon, still going to be working with him from afar and keeping in touch. So I think we'll see Ty Smith up here at some point if they can open a spot via a trade. But it's I don't know. Did you think he was going to go down? I thought they were going to keep him, even though it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I thought they were going to keep him just based on the way that they were playing him. And he seemed like he showed some flash and promise a little bit here and there. But yeah, that surprised me. The way that things were leaning up until a couple days ago, it did seem like POJ was going to be potentially the guy who was sent down, and they were going to keep Ty Smith up. But honestly, and we'll get into actual lines and pairings in the second segment, but it's probably for the best. And also Mark Friedman's down now too. Like he's another casualty of this cap situation, and he will not be starting the season at the NHL level.
Yeah, I feel like of P.O., Friedman, and Ruhwedel, the one that was maybe the easiest of the three to pass through waivers probably would have been Friedman, and like he did clear findies in Wilkes-Barre. P.O. just, he's a little bit younger, has a higher ceiling. He could have been appealing to a young team like Arizona. Chad Ruhwedel, he's obviously an older guy, but if a team is looking for a seventh defenseman, Chad has shown an ability to sit long periods of time not playing and then get in and still be effective. That's a skill in and of itself to be a really, really good seventh defenseman. So if a team needed a seventh defenseman, he's also very cheap. He could have been a good pickup for someone, but Mark Friedman, I think, could be a regular in the NHL too, and just his ability to be a pest is something that I think the Penguins would like to have on a regular basis, but he's just a victim of the numbers game. But if he's in Wilkes-Barre for any amount of time, rivalries in the AHL are different because you play your rivals so much more than in the NHL. Like the Wilkes-Barre can play the Hershey Bears 12 times, and those games get heated. So having Mark Friedman for those games, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm excited for that. I think I'd rather see Mark Friedman up at the NHL level, but good that the Penguins didn't lose him, because if they do end up having room later in the season and you're going to go into a game where you need someone like him and what he brings, they'll have the option to bring him up if they can figure out the cap situation.
Yeah, and so Radim Zohorna, he had the opportunity to come back to the Penguins, and they did not reclaim him. So what does that mean for him, and what does that mean for the Penguins? Why do you think they didn't take him back?
So we talked about this last week and how, there's no reason not to. If they put him on waivers and they're the only team that puts in a claim, they can take him, put him right back in Wilkes-Barre. No team put in a claim, so he's 100% Calgary's. They can do what they want with him. They can send him down to their AHL affiliate, which is also in Calgary. And I saw people, talking like, "Oh, why wouldn't they?" There's a pretty good reason, and I think the timing of when Calgary waited to put him on waivers was very intentional, because it really kind of forced the Penguins' hand and made it difficult for them to reclaim him. So, There were four scenarios that could have happened with the Flames putting Radim Zohorna on waivers. So scenario one, the Penguins don't put in a claim, no other team puts in a claim. That's what happened. And then, so that when that happens, Calgary can send them down to their AHL affiliate. Scenario two, if the Penguins put in a waiver claim, no other team puts in a waiver claim. Like we said, the Penguins get Radim Zohorna, can put him in Wilkes-Barre. That would have been ideal. Scenario three, the Penguins put in a waiver claim. A team that was worse than them in the standings last season also puts in a waiver claim. The second team gets Zohorna. That's how they work out the waiver priority. It's not like the Penguins don't get first dibs the team that was worse than him last season would have gotten him. And then it just would have been like neutral. The Penguins, they don't lose anything, but they don't get anything.
Yeah.
But if the Penguins would have put in a waiver claim and a team that was better than them in the standings last season also put in a waiver claim, the Penguins would have gotten Zohorna, but they would not have had the ability to put him in Wilkes-Barre. They would have had to keep him on the NHL roster for the time being. They could have put him on waivers the following day and gotten rid of him. But if you look like the timing of when this happened, it was Saturday to Sunday was that waiver period. The Penguins were kind of in cap hell as it was. Yeah. And if the Penguins would have claimed Zohorna at Sunday, and this would have happened where they would have been stuck with him on the NHL roster, they would not have been able to get him off the roster before Monday at 5:00 when rosters were due. And he would have put them over the cap. It would have forced the only way to get compliant would have been a trade. And the Penguins would have had no way of knowing that another team would or wouldn't be putting in a claim for him. It would have been a real risk if they would have, because they would have had to put him on waivers, but they would have had to wait till Monday at 2:00 to put him on waivers, and then he wouldn't have been able to come off the roster until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Too late. So, I mean, ultimately, no team put in a waiver claim. Like it wouldn't have happened, but they didn't. They had no way of knowing.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have happened. So, kind of sucks because they could have had him back, but also knowing that there was a real risk of this backfiring and kind of screwing everything up. Zohorna, I guess, is not worth that risk. Knowing that you have guys like Poulin, O'Connor, Kajula, Puustinen, even Nylander down in the minors Hollander who could come up and see NHL time this season. Mm-hmm. It wasn't worth the risk. It would have been nice to have him back for the depth, but also it would not have been worth the way it could have backfired and just messed everything up. It
would have just created more potential work for them to have to get around. Yeah. So it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but they are compliant. They're ready to roll. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we can talk about the lines and the pairings that we might see tonight in the game against the Coyotes. And we're back. So the lines are they look pretty set right now. The only thing that's still kind of unfortunate is that Teddy Bluger is hurt still. No real timetable on his return. It seems like it's kind of vague, up in the air. What's the status on him right now?
They're day-to-day, which doesn't mean out only in a couple of days. It means they're evaluating him on a day-by-day basis. I know people get that confused, but they don't know. Upper body injury, he's still non-contact. He's not been skating every day as part of his rehab process. Like Monday, when they practiced Monday, he was off. He was back with the team on Wednesday, but still non-contact. We know it's an upper body injury. We don't know what exactly it is or how it happened. Like, he did leave a practice early when this happened. I don't know if it was something that happened before and it was lingering or what. I did ask him. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't say. But he said on a number of occasions, he's talked twice since he's been hurt, that it's been frustrating. Just things are progressing slower than they had hoped, which doesn't sound good. That's never a good thing to have.
No, that's not good.
No, yeah. But and he was also asked just if he could be ready or when he thinks he'll be ready to actually get into a game. He said he doesn't know. Mike Sullivan, he said he's not ruling anyone out for the opener, but I think you can probably assume Teddy's going to be out for the opener, given that he hasn't even practiced with contact yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not ideal.
Yeah, definitely not. So that means that Ryan Poehling is
Yeah.
in at fourth line center. So what can we expect from that fourth line? Because it feels like it could be a wild card. It could go either way.
Yeah, I think this, regardless of who's at center, I think this could be a good energy line. I know that Josh Archibald has been anointed the new whipping boy of the fan base.
A little bit.
It's been Dominic Simone, Zach Aston Reese, Jack Johnson, Rob Scuderi. There's been a long line of these guys. Whether it's warranted or not, Josh Archibald is that's his job now to take all the brunt.
Yep.
Because I think everyone, whatever, during the season, they're going to look at him and they're like, "That's why that Zohorn is gone, or that's why Sam Poulin's not up here."
Yep.
We talked about it before. He was not worth like a 900,000 one-way day one of free agency. Besides the point, it's over.
Oh, well.
For what he can bring to the fourth line, I think he can be an effective guy in that fourth line, but real energy line. He's fast. They can chip in offensively when needed. He can play physical, maybe not as physical as someone like I don't know, like a Zach Aston Reese, who they did have on the fourth line, but that's definitely part of his game. I mean, but he's going to probably score more than someone like a Zach Aston Reese. And, him and McGinn have been together throughout camp. It seems like they've had good chemistry from what we've seen. Teddy Bluger, he's only practiced with Teddy Bluger like twice now in camp, but that's just Teddy coming in after his injury, non-contact. So they really haven't, they didn't play a game together yet, but they are very familiar with each other because they were in Wilkes-Barre together for a number of years. I asked Archibald about it. He said he doesn't think they were ever line mates down in Wilkes-Barre, but they were down there together for, I want to say like parts of like 3 or 4 seasons. And then they also did, back in the early days of the Beauty League, Archibald used to spend his summers in Minnesota, and they would train together. They would play together in the Beauty League too, work out in the gym. So they know each other well. They're familiar with each other and each other's games. So even though we haven't seen them together a whole lot, they at least have that level of familiarity. But yeah, I think regardless of if it's Poehling or Joseph at center, I think this is it can be a good energy line, physical, chip in offensively when needed, reliable defensively. I think when Teddy's back, Poehling will be the 13th forward. You could see Poehling, he can play center, he can play wing, so you might see him move over and bump Archibald out. But based on what we've seen with the line combinations in these past couple of practices, I think Poehling would be the odd man out. But it could go either way.
Yeah, we won't know until we see Poehling play a little bit and see how Teddy progresses in his recovery. Another interesting thing and kind of exciting thing is that POJ has been paired up with Ruda on that final defensive pairing. So what do you expect to see from POJ? Because it feels like even if it's unspoken, it's kind of like a make it or break it moment for him on whether the team's going to, if he's worth keeping around, because we just don't really know. We haven't seen that much of him at this level.
Yeah, that's another one that I thought could go either way so, I mean, obviously Ruda was going to be on the third pairing, whether he was going to be with Pio or Chad. On Monday's practice, they were rotating. Seems like they were giving either guy a shot with him. But yeah, based off of Wednesday's practice combinations, Pio was with Ruda. Chad was on an extra defense pairing with Teddy Bluger. So that's a pretty good indication that it's going to be Pio. Yeah, Pio, the knock on him throughout camp has been that Mike Sullivan wants him to he take what the game gives him. That's what he keeps phrasing it as. Sometimes Pio will try to just force plays that aren't there or try to do too much on his own, and that can lead to him making mistakes. I think from the game one of the preseason to the end, I think he has improved in that regard. I mean, like his best game in the preseason was undoubtedly that last one and he didn't have any turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
He did have a couple of, I know he had a takeaway and a couple of good plays, like offensively too. So, I think that's the pairing that, Ruud is a physical guy. He can go to the net front. Pio, I think he can bring a little bit more of an offensive dimension to that pairing.
Yeah.
Get a shot through, create rebound opportunities for the other guys on the ice. So nice to see Pio stick around, just because talking to him, he's just like a ray of sunshine. Like we talked about it, like when things were, this had to have been a tough situation for him coming in, 9 defensemen. It did look like he was on the outs in the beginning. Just, it seems like he never got frustrated over it. Just had the greatest mindset. I asked him, like, when he was talking about this and how, maybe this was like the preseason, his last preseason game, that could have been like a last audition for him. He just never seemed concerned at all. And I was like, do you ever get frustrated about anything? And he's like, no. And he really doesn't. I think the only thing that bothers Pio is if you call him Pierre. He hates that. Either Pio or Pierre Olivier. Don't call him Pierre, though. But
Pierre, just Pierre. Good to know.
Yeah, good to see him sticking around. Again, there still could be moves made. They did offer him up via trade to every other team, and there were no takers. I don't think that's an indication that teams don't think he has potential, but rather just the Penguins' situation at the time. Other teams knew that they were going to have to put a defenseman through on waivers, and so if Pio was the odd man out, I think other teams were looking at that like, why would we trade for him when you're probably going to have to waive him in a couple of days and we can get him for free anyway?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think the fact that there were no takers I don't think that says much about Pio as a player, but just rather the situation. And also teams just don't have the cap space to, like, that would have been it would have been a salary dump. Teams don't have the money for that. A team like Toronto has $4 in cap space. That's
good to know. It's not just the Penguins, at least.
There are like 4 teams, like Vegas, Toronto. I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head, but without using LTIR, they have a combined $220 in cap space. Like things are bad across the league.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not great, but it is exciting. We'll get to see POJ a good bit, and we'll see what he can do. Hopefully, he can make his mark on the roster and stick around. Let's take one more break, and we will be right back. And we're back. So the NHL isn't the only league that does outdoor games. The AHL also hosts an outdoor classic that is going to be March 4th, 2023, and it's going to feature a matchup between the Wilkes-Barre Penguins and the Cleveland Monsters, who are the affiliate for the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's an exciting thing, and it's going to be at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. So big arena.
Yeah, the Browns Stadium. Really looking forward to it. The AHL, this is their 11th outdoor game. They do it, so they do it most years. They haven't had one since 2018. This is the second one for Wilkes-Barre. The last one was 2013. Them in Hershey. I went to that one as a fan. They won 2-1 in overtime. Paul Thompson was the hero. Jeff Zatkoff was a goal. Brian Dumoulin played in that game.
Wow.
Brian Dumoulin played in like 6 outdoor games. He's like with the Penguins, with Wilkes-Barre, Boston College. They did it. So he's a pro. But really looking forward to this in Cleveland. Yeah. That's not a rivalry. Like, they never really play each other. So it's not going to be, like, I don't know how heated the game is going to get, but it should be pretty fun.
Yeah, and the weather in March should be pretty good for that too. Hopefully no crazy snow or rain, but it shouldn't be too warm. So the conditions should be solid for that. That's exciting. Something to look forward to. So Taylor, we talked about this in between recording segments last week, but you said that you wrote up a piece on just kind of talking to different players about different fun things. So I'm gonna have you kind of share with people what the questions you asked were and what the answers you got were, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm doing a new feature this season. I'm calling it Survey Says. Basically, I go around the locker room, ask as many, I'm not getting the entire team, and that would be impossible, but just as many guys as I can and asking them the same question. So the way I did it to start, I have 8 different questions, just like fun stuff that lets you get to know them more, their thoughts on different things. And I asked each guy the same 8 questions, and then every week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's not like I'm not married to any date. Just running all of their answers to one question. So the first week, I asked them all what they thought about the Robo Pigeon logo. Overwhelming support. A lot of them, I thought it was interesting that they talked about Yager first and foremost when they look at that.
Yeah.
Most of them said Yager first ahead of Mario. Some of them said Yager, only Yager. Brock McGinn said Kovalev. Dumoulin said off Samuelson. Casey said Tom Barrasso. I thought that was interesting. But so the one I ran last week, I asked them all which teammate they would not want to have as a roommate on the road. And now they don't have roommates on the road anymore. Everyone's guaranteed a single room on the road unless you're on an entry-level contract. Now that Ty Smith is down, no one's on an entry-level contract, so no one has a roommate anymore. But yeah, it was just a very fun, a lot of funny answers. So I'll just pull it up. First of all, number one answer was Mark Friedman. And they weren't saying it like he is a jerk. It wasn't like that. It just sounds like he's so wired that a lot of the guys couldn't handle it. Especially the ones that like to nap, often or a long time. They're like, yeah, he doesn't sit still. He has a lot going on. But also the number 2 answer is Jason Zucker, which kind of similar to a lot of guys said he's loud. Sid said Zucker he said he'd be all over me. He's always giving me a hard time. I feel like he'd be giving me a hard time the whole time. I did think it was funny, Mark Friedman, when I got to him. I don't know if he'd be interested in just answering these BS questions, but I was like, I gotta talk to you because guys gave you for some of the answers. And I had asked him a couple of questions to that point that were like, which teammate this? But then once I got to which teammate would you not want to be roommates with, he's like, is this where they said me? He's very self-aware. And I'm like, maybe. Maybe
he knew.
Yeah. He said Zucker's too loud. So if Friedman thinks Zucker's too much, I think that puts Zucker over the top.
Yeah, kind of damning.
I did think it was funny. Gensel said Letang because he's on his phone all day watching Instagram. And then Kapanen said Gino because he'd be on his phone more than talking to him, and that he'd speak Russian too much. I thought that was funny. And then Rust and Zucker have this fun little rivalry. So they played against each other since they were teenagers. They go way back, and they are friends. But when they talk about each other, it's just been a running thing where they talk about each other like they hate each other. So one of these questions, the one I'm actually going to run this week, it was who they want to be roommates with the most. And when I asked Zucker that, he's like, literally anyone other than Brian Rust. Although then I'm like, okay, so his answer for who he wouldn't want is Brian Rust. And I said, why? And he said, oh, Brian Rust for sure. I hate that guy. I've hated him since we were 15. And he's saying this so straight faced, like
Oh, that's funny.
totally serious. And but like then he'll look over, Brian Russ sits maybe like 4 seats down from him. He'll like look over to see if he heard him. And he's like smiling. But then Brian Russ said the same thing. He said probably Zucker because he talks too much. He likes to hear himself talk. I don't think I'd be into that. Totally serious. But then he'll like look over at Zucker to see if he heard.
Oh my God.
Casey DeSmith, his answer was really funny too because I asked him and he just goes, Gino. I'm like, why Gino? And he's like, I don't think he likes me. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, it's because he makes things on Gino in practice, but yeah, he's just like, I don't think he likes me.
Oh my God.
And then poor Pio. I asked Pio Joseph too, and so I asked these questions before last Monday. And Pio, his answer was the most Pio thing of all time. He said, I'm going to say Zahorna because I know we wouldn't be sleeping at all. I feel like we'd be laughing and joking around too much. So his answer is Zahorna just because he likes him too much and they'd have too much fun and wouldn't sleep, which is just the most...
That's so wholesome.
Yeah, it's the most Pio way to answer that question. Yeah, so sad for him that he lost Zahorna, but yeah, those are the answers I got to that. I have a lot of fun ones. Like I said who they would want to be roommates with. That's coming up. I asked favorite road city, least favorite road city. Those are ones that are coming. Who their favorite player was growing up. That's another good one. I got half the team said Peter Forsberg, which I thought was kind of weird. Just kind of random. Not really, I guess, but a good one is I asked which teammate they think could make it in another sport and do well at it, and like which sport and why. That's some random answers. And of course, I asked this before Zahorna got claimed. So yeah, there's like a couple people picking Zahorna for multiple sports just because he's tall.
He's so tall.
I was hoping they'd reclaim him because I was like, I got this story coming. But
oh my goodness,
that's coming. A couple of others. If anyone has like ideas for like questions like that, because I'm going to be doing these. Plan is once a week all season. Like tweet at me, leave a comment where I don't know wherever you see this. Someone left an idea, one of like why they all wear the numbers that they do. I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
some of them we know about, but a lot of the like these newer guys we don't. Stuff like that. I'd love to do like holiday themed ones, like Halloween. Like, what's your favorite Halloween candy? Favorite costume growing up? Like that kind of stuff. That's what I want to do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that kind of stuff. It's not like serious X's and O's hockey, but I feel like this is the kind of stuff that like I could write about the power play, and like we do that kind of stuff too. But then I do something like this, and this gets like twice as many views because anyone can watch the games, but I feel like this kind of access stuff is what the fans really like, and I know like old school writers don't see it that way, and I've seen comments like, oh well, like knocking me for writing human interest stories, but
it brings a third dimension to the players, and it makes them seem more human because they are human, and I think that's the reason people gravitate towards sports to begin with is the human element of it. So I think they're great. I would love to know personally if they were going to a sporting event who they'd want to go with, like just traveling, drinking buddy, like, because you can really learn a lot about people based on who they'd want to do what with. And the roommate thing is fascinating because it's like, okay, yeah, I can think of people that I know and love that I'd be like, I don't want to room with you. No, get out of my face. Like this is not the right setting. But that's fascinating. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. So one final fun little thing, you said that Nikita Malkin was in the locker room the other day. How was that?
Yeah, it just cool to see him. He's 6 years old, Malkin's kid. Yeah. it was funny. I guess like the equipment staff was on babysitting duty throughout practice because you could see them like following him around because Malkin's on the ice. Like Malkin's wife wasn't there, just Malkin and his kid. But yeah, when Malkin was on the ice, the equipment staff was just kind of trailing Nikita around. But I mean, it's like when we go into the locker room after practice, Malkin's usually not in there. Like formal practice ends, some of the players get off, some of them stay on, and then they kind of let us in the locker room a couple minutes after formal practice ends. So if a player doesn't want to be in there when the media is coming in, they can get out of there before we get in there. So Malkin normally does that. But yeah, we walk in and like no one's in the locker room yet except for Nikita is just like hanging out in Malkin's stall, just sitting there like swinging his feet, and he's on his phone, like he's texting, and I'm like, how old is this kid? Like he's 6 years old, but yeah, he's texting and he keeps leaving like voice memos, like like talking, and like Brock McGinn, sits like 2 seats down from Malkin and begins coming in. Like Malkin's kid just keeps leaving these messages, and Brock begins like, who do you keep calling? And he's like, my mom. So I thought that was funny. Nikita Malkin just hanging out in the locker room calling his mom. But it was just cool to see like the players interact with him. Nikita Malkin, he does speak English. I didn't know if he would or not, just because they do live in Russia for part of the year. And he's 6 years old, but speaks English fine. But yeah, it's like Tristan Jarry comes in, he like Nikita's wearing a little baseball cap, he like takes it off, flips it around, and Kapanen and Zucker were like, like giving him like crap, like, ribbing him, stuff like that. Crosby did come in and he just kind of like knelt down and like talked with him for a little bit. I thought that was cute. And then Crosby, he went to his locker and, like they take off their practice jersey and most of them walk it to the laundry cart bin themselves. And but Nikita Malkin came over and like took Crosby's jersey and like took it to the laundry for him.
Incredible.
That was cute. But then afterwards, like we're waiting for Sullivan, all the players are out. Nikita, he has one of the equipment cars and he's just like running up and down the hallway outside the locker room, and then he has like a mini stick and he's swinging it around. He like almost hit Ron Hextall when Hextall's walking by. He came like this close to hitting Hextall with the stick, like and not intentionally. He was just like waving it around. Hextall thought that was funny, but
oh my god,
Nikita Malkin, it's cool to see. Players have their kids around. Like Dumo brings his son Braden around a lot. Petry has 4 sons. Some of them are around.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah. A couple of them like skate after. Like Dumo's son and one of Petry's sons. They're like 3 years old. They'll skate together after practice. We've seen like Letang's son around, obviously. He does interviews, but how cool would it be if like Malkin's an all-star and like Nikita, and he brings like Nikita and we get to interview Nikita like we did Alex Letang?
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't that be something?
I feel like he'd be fun because like Alex Letang doing like the media availability in St. Louis in 2020, that was like the highlight of All-Star Weekend. Because it's not like we weren't asking Alex questions at first. It's like Letang's at the podium and he has Alex on his lap and, someone asks Letang questions. But then Alex just starts answering the question. And like, okay. And then like, but then he just kept doing that. So eventually Letang just like took him off his lap, put him down and like left, like just walked off to the side. And then just re-interview Alex Letang. I would love to. Oh my god! Yeah, if Malkin needs to be an all-star, so we can have that moment with his kid, because I feel like that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of moments like that this season, and it's here. It's finally here. We made it to the start of the Penguins season. If you're not already following along with us, we drop new episodes every Thursday. So subscribe. Follow on Twitter just so you make sure that you never miss an episode, because we're going to be giving you the coverage all season long. We're so stoked it's back, and we will see you next Thursday for another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave.